Hello, hello. All right. So, what I decided to do was go back and kind of revisit this endless LinkedIn slide. And so, with that said, my hope is that these tools will be helpful for you as you think about your LinkedIn profile, almost like a checklist, right? So, I had an example of a student's profile with a couple of images. I talked you through a few points, but this can almost be like your checklist, right? For when you're looking at your own LinkedIn profile as a student at Brown. So the first talks about follow the leaders and engage companies. I have found in a lot of cases, actually probably 99.9% of students, when they come to me with, I don't know where to look, or maybe I know organizations and I'm trying to target them. And then I'll say, well, are you following them on LinkedIn? No. Well, so that means you're not commenting on their page. That means you don't know who works there. That means you're not following leaders in your space. And so consider that. Consider thinking about 10 to 15 to 20 organizations that are doing some great work. Just do some research. Organizations and human rights, organizations and international security, nonprofits, think tanks. Maybe look it up by city, by state, and consider following and engaging in those organizations on LinkedIn. The second is looking at your Brown University homepage. I showed you that already. Please follow it. And then we are more than able to help you look through alumni on those pages. Optimizing formula. So we talked about the headline. I gave you some examples about the headline. Be sure that your location is correct in LinkedIn, right? Sometimes I get students that are like, they're like, well, you know, it says Rhode Island, but maybe you're not in Rhode Island anymore. You're back in California, and that's where you want to work, where you're trying to intern, even if it's virtual, but your location on LinkedIn says you're back in Rhode Island. So consider that. I talked about skills and gave you an example of that. Endorsements are pretty open. Like now, there's a little bit more structure to people endorsing your skills. I do think it's a good add-on feature. Headlines, we talked about that. Exporting your contacts in Excel. So that is an optional feature. And I remember about a week or so ago, a coach asked me, do you think we should do that? Why should we do that? You know, I'm a little bit extra, and I admit it when it comes to coaching, but I feel like those are your contacts and you have no idea who you're connected to. It's endless. So for example, you're on LinkedIn. Maybe you have 100 contacts, 200 contacts. Do you know them all? Probably not. And if you do, you probably haven't talked to them in a really long time. Maybe they changed jobs. Maybe they graduated from a particular program that you didn't know about. Maybe they started a think tank. Maybe they started volunteering someplace. So in the settings of LinkedIn, and you can Google this, you can go to their questions Q&A thing and look it up, how to download my LinkedIn contacts in Microsoft Excel. So you can see their names, their locations, the organizations they work for, and you can use that as an outreach strategy, because oftentimes when we talked about networking and people are a little nervous about networking, who do they reach out to? It's like, start with your tribe. LinkedIn is your tribe, and you're missing out on knowing who you're connected to. Status update. Those are important. It keeps you in the queue, keeps you SEO, search engine optimization. If you post a status update, people comment, reply to those. And sometimes, you know, students will say, well, how often do I need to be on LinkedIn? Listen, everybody's got a life. You got a lot going on. You decide what that looks like. Maybe that's 10 minutes a day. Maybe it's 15 minutes a week to check in on your LinkedIn profile, to check in on your contacts, to reach out to someone and say, hey, let's have a chat. Maybe to find an alumni in a group. Or maybe, you know, you're looking for groups that are related to real estate because you're interested in real estate. So you want to find groups that are talking about real estate. And so whatever that looks like for you, then do that. Jobs, there's a wonderful job database on LinkedIn. I can't express that enough. Jobs and internships are actually on LinkedIn. And if you're an entrepreneur with a service to offer, They have LinkedIn Pro Finder where you can build your own profile as an entrepreneur. So take a look at the jobs, take a look at Pro Finder as well. There is some salary information on LinkedIn, which students, alums, graduates, staff, faculty have found that very helpful, because sometimes students will ask me, oh, how much should I get paid? How about we plug that job title and the city and the state into LinkedIn and see what the salary says? That might give you some helpful information. The bio is your summary, which we are more than helpful. We can help you with that as well, but I definitely think you should have a summary. I did talk about that in a few earlier slides. Publishing articles. Now, that's a case by case. I'm biased. I think everybody should publish something. I feel like you have written so many amazing papers being a student at Brown. Why would you not want to share your intellectual capital? Why not? Even just a piece of what you've written. It shows that you have subject matter expertise. And it also goes to your personal brand. And then it could go to networking and outreach, because you can ask people to comment and share their thoughts. And another thing I've had students do is, what if you've written a piece? I would imagine you've probably cite somebody else. Maybe you cited an organization or another scholar. What if that scholar or author or organization is on LinkedIn? Imagine writing your blog piece and tagging them in it. That's a thought. Uploading documents. If you visit my LinkedIn page, you'll see under the summary that I actually have uploaded video, image. I've had my resume there at one point in time. You can definitely attach images and videos at any documents, and photos, images, excuse me, under that particular section as well. Letting recruiters know that you're open. There's a feature to that as well. You can just toggle it so recruiters know that you're actually open and available to have a conversation. Sending a request, experience, education, recommendations, which I talked about, publications, interest. There's just, like I said, LinkedIn is endless, endless, endless. So if this is something that I can help you with, just reach out. It's fun for me, actually. So just let me know how I can help. All right, so the interview. This is the last slide that I will cover today, okay? And so with the interviewing, there is so much to that. I mean, just know that working with a coach to have a one-on-one session is actually going to be beneficial. Like, you can't go wrong practicing your interview prior to the interview, because then we get to look at your body language, your tone of voice. We get to ask questions, see how you answer those questions. And then you get to flesh out the questions that you would want to ask them at the same time. So let's take it from the top. Closing out all apps and programs like Spotify, Slack, Gmail, and YouTube. So I'm not sure with if you're home right now, right? I don't know what your bandwidth is on your internet. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. But if you are going to do a virtual interview in particular, please make sure that every app you possibly can is shut down. So the only thing that's running is you and this web camera. Low traffic area. So when I talked earlier about really thinking about your space and your surroundings, it's important to think about, where can I interview? Where can I find a quiet space? Do I have to go in a closet with a light? Do I have a desk or a table that I can clear out? I had mentioned earlier too that I usually put a sign on my door that says live interview in progress, live teaching in progress, do not knock. So consider wherever you are putting up a sign. If it's not even on the door, just stand it up on the table or tape it somewhere. So if someone even approaches you, they say, oh, they won't forget what you said because they'll see it in writing. Proper background. Virtual is optional. As you can see, I'm using brown as my background. So you can use brown as your background too. Or if you just use your regular home, just be sure whatever's behind you was neat. Determine the length of time and the tools needed, who will be present. So this is important if it's available. So if you know you're going to have an interview, why not ask, oh, I want to be properly prepared. Should I block off an hour, hour and a half? I gave my proposal defense about 2 weeks ago, my doctoral proposal defense. It went an hour and a half. And I thought to myself, ooh, I only allocated an hour. But you know what I did, which was so interesting, is I had a meeting scheduled. And I thought they said that this was going to be less than an hour, 20-minute presentation, ask questions. I was going to be done in an hour. This is what I was told. So I blocked the hour. Okay. But what I also did was I knew that I had a meeting starting in an hour with my boss and our team. And I drafted an email explaining that I was going to be late to the meeting, but I didn't send it yet. I had it ready to go just in case. And I was actually so glad that I did that, because this whole dissertation defense went way over time because one of the first chairs had an emergency. So she reached out at the beginning of when the interview was supposed to start, and she said she was going to be late. She was late 15 minutes. And so that then propelled us to, I had to wait for her. This was important. It's my dissertation. So I waited patiently, but you know what? I had that email sitting in the draft folder and I went ahead and sent it. So you do want to try to prepare, get the tools that you need in order to be successful. Secure any pets that you may have. Think about the height of the screen, the eye contact, the headset. These things are all optional, whether you use the iPhone headset, buy a headset, or no headset. Just be in a very quiet place. I tend to put the screen up when I know I have to deliver a presentation or an interview. If it's just day-to-day teamwork, I don't really worry too much about the screen height. But if you know you're delivering a presentation and you want to be looking straight on the camera, then you could consider putting your laptop on some books or a box, so that you're looking straight into the camera. You want to make sure you have your resume, cover letter, any notepad, pens, paper, whatever you need. Basically, whatever you use to apply for that opportunity, that job, that internship, that fellowship. If you use the resume, a cover letter, statement of accomplishments, an essay, have it all in front of you just in case. Practice if you can, record yourself if you can, and do wear professional attire at all times. Now that includes top and bottom. Another thing you could do that I like to do, and I like to tell students, is to read, as in read your press release, read your annual report. These are things that not a lot of people read, but you know, it's getting more competitive now. So if you're vying for an opportunity at an organization, I kind of don't want you to just focus on your position at hand, but did you even look at the leadership, the CEO, the board of directors? Did you know that one of your professors was actually on the board of the organization that you're interviewing for? Did you know that, you know, they released a press release, or maybe the head of HR gave a TED Talk and it's on YouTube? So try to do a little bit extra of finding something unique about the organization. During the interview, listening, connecting, using the STAR method, these are all things that a coach can help you really flush out using the STAR method. So I won't go into too much detail about that, but I will say the STAR method is acronyms that stand for situation, task, action, and results. Situation, task, action, and results. These are things that are required for a successful interview, and you would want to try to practice those with a coach if possible. Now, I have two bonus little points at the bottom of the slide, questions that might shift in light of COVID. So with COVID, we all have had to be virtual in some capacity. And a lot of times interviewing questions could also be pivoting. They could pivot the question based on what's going on in the environment. And so let's take, for example, leadership, right? Leadership and management skills. We think of leadership and management like leading in person. I had a group, this is what we did, but now we're not in person. So my question to you is, how do you lead from a distance? How have you managed successfully a virtual team? What have you learned about yourself in light of COVID? What is a current policy issue that we are dealing with at our organization? So I want you to start thinking outside of the box, right? In light of COVID, some of these interviewing questions might pivot. So let's think about that. Lastly, LinkedIn Learning is offering some free courses on a variety of topic areas. So you might want to log in and take advantage of that. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. So those are my tips right now for in-person, but primarily virtual interviewing that might be helpful to you. I do suggest highly that you work with a coach and really think about practicing those interviewing skills and those presentation skills and the elevator pitch. And we talked about branding and really putting that big picture together so that you could be as polished as possible. So let's pause for a minute. I hope that you have learned something from this session. I hope that there's one takeaway that you're like, you know what, I'm going to implement this right now. I'm going to get help with this right now in order to make sure that I am pitching myself properly. So thank you so much. Make an appointment if needed. Take care. Bye-bye.